Rockets lost to the Knicks. That didn't seem like a particularly big deal, but fast forward to today. The Rockets lost their 4th straight game, this one to the Orlando Magic, and it is bringing into question in the minds of some the idea that this small ball game, which kind of was taking the league by storm, doesn't really work. After going on a 6-game winning streak where they outscored their opponents by over 15 points a game, the Rockets have dropped off. In these 4 straight losses, they're shooting under 30% from 3. They've been outscored by more than 11 points per game. What specifically, Jay Williams, are you seeing that concerns you?
Well, I mean, they had a double-digit lead against Charlotte the game before that they lost. I have to question the leadership of James Harden. It's funny, when I see great players play in this league, Doris, when I watch Russell Westbrook, when I watch Giannis, when I watch LeBron James, there's a certain aura they bring to the table. There's a certain energy they bring to the table. You know they want to pursue greatness. When I watch James Harden, there seems to be a little bit more, he's lethargic. He's a little bit more laid back. There's not that same aggression that I see, and he needs to be able to take this team and elevate them the next step, and I haven't seen him do that. I don't question small ball. I question the leadership of James Harden.
In the first 10 games after the trade, they had the 7th best defense in the league. So they downsized and they played with focus and they played with force. They have shown none of that. In the 4 games, they're giving up 119 points and they're 25th defensively. The Knicks did something interesting. They sent a extra help defender to the strong side, and they cut off driving lanes. Mm-hmm. Now you're settling for jump shots. You're living and dying with it. And right now you're frankly struggling. But I think this is as much about intention and force as it is with missed shots.
Well, and so to sort of spin that forward, if we want to give them the benefit of the doubt, is it the notion perhaps that when you're that undersized, you have to play so hard that maybe that's just not sustainable, that over you're going to have stretches like this where maybe they just wear down?
I disagree. I think you can sustain it over that long a period of time. We have seen the Milwaukee Bucks do it on a nightly basis, regardless of who they're playing and when they're playing, and it might be a back-to-back. I disagree with the notion that you can't sustain it.
Okay, here's one thing that I want to go back to on the James Harden point. This has been James Harden's team.
You're not going to win doing that.
Agree. I mean, look, you could say Boston, but Boston's been plagued by injuries. Yeah. Right? They've had injuries on it. Like this team, this is the personnel that's on this team. And it has to, I'm telling you guys, James Harden has to take that step, because they do not win a world championship unless James Harden becomes that great player. We all talk about him being great, and he is a prolific scorer. I don't know if he's a great player yet because he hasn't elevated the way he leads.
Time for some sneaky big news. Atlanta Hawks CEO Steve Koonin wants to shift the NBA season 2 months later to help increase ratings. Proposal by him is to start the season in mid-December. It would avoid competition with both the NFL and college football, while also allowing the NBA to take a greater share of the summer. Here's a little bit more of what he said. He was talking about relevance, creating the most revenue. Jay Will, when you actually, you know what, first, Greeny, you loved this. Why?
It's not that I loved it. I think when I sent it in, people misinterpreted it. I love the topic. I love talking about it. I'm not necessarily suggesting that I love the idea. This was at the Sloan conference that he said this, and you were there.
I was there.
Right? So here's the part of this that I find the most interesting. Traditionally, the summer is what everyone wants to stay away from. Right now, we're maybe getting a little inside baseball here, not literally baseball, even though they own the summer. But the summer is when people are not in their regular routines. Kids are out of school. People take their vacations. They're traveling around. I don't know that you want to put, it is at least risky, I would think, to put your highest profile, most significant events in the summer where people traditionally are not accustomed to it and not in a place where they would be sitting home glued to their televisions all the time.
I don't think the MLB owns the summer anymore. I think the summer is wide open. I think the summer is open for fandom. And I would combat by saying every October, November, we talk about football so much that it definitely overshadows the NBA. Yeah. So if you were to extend that, if you were to say, his line was relevancy equals revenue. So if you were to capitalize on those months, that is only baseball that you're competing against, and you feel like baseball is dwindling as far as fandom, I do think there is slightly an opportunity there.
Doris, let me to sort of pick up on what you just said. Basketball gets buried during the least important part of its season, right? The beginning of the season. Some people say, it sort of starts at Christmas. Well, okay. I mean, that's when, and it can get rolling at that point. Now you're putting the most important part at a time that traditionally the entertainment industry has stayed away from.
Correct. And I get your reservation and I understand it. And I wonder about players and what their buy-in level would be to this. But the fact of the matter is, Greeny, we're not beating the behemoth that is the NFL. We're not doing it. And so if you're going to take on somebody, you want to punch down, and the punching down is to MLB.
You mentioned the players' perspective on this. Jay, if you have to change your entire routine as a player who's been...
Am I making $24 million a year?
Yes.
I'll change my entire routine.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just.
I get it.
But here, because if you're thinking about, the influx of TV money is so massive that these players are making exorbitant amounts of money.
Right.
If you're asking me, hey, basketball during the summertime is already a big thing. Guys are already doing it. You have guys that are training 24/7. I mean, think about when there was a lockout. You had guys that were going to play pickup basketball, and they were being televised.
If LeBron is playing Kawhi Leonard in the Western Conference Finals in June, I can promise you I'm going to be in front of my TV. You said it this morning. You would watch that.
Right.
Be on
in
the
August,
TV.
that would be August 19th. And your kids are on a week away from going back to school and all sorts of things.
I'd watch it no matter what.
I still watch it. Now we can go to the game.
Life sometimes gets in the way. I love this topic. We'll get back to it. Meantime, if you had any doubt that LA was a Lakers town, LeBron and company put that to rest yesterday. Did they send a message and get in the Clippers' heads? Stephen A., Max, and Molly discuss it on First Take, top of the hour, right here on ESPN.
Basketball world on Saturday when the team agreed to part ways with head coach Kenny Atkinson. On Sunday, DeAndre Jordan downplayed the reports that the Nets' new players this season got Atkinson fired. Listen to what Jordan said.
We're all new players. So if you go say new players, put it on all 8 of the new players.
Okay, so then there's been some.
But I think whatever you're saying and whatever the reports are, so.
All right, so that's what DeAndre Jordan said. What do you think about this, Jay Will, that they did decide the Nets to part ways with Atkinson?
Well, I think expectations have changed on this team. I think now expectations are to win a championship. And Kenny Atkinson, I think, is a great coach. He has been able to mold a culture. He's been able to do talent development with this team. But I ultimately think that this team has decided that he wasn't the right fit to get them to where they wanted to go.
The entire feel of the organization changed when you acquired Kyrie and Kevin. You went from the little engine that overachieved getting into the playoffs a season ago, to a team that now has the weight of expectations going into next year. I would like to say this about Kenny Atkinson. I've heard that Joe Harris could command 4 years, $80 million. He's an elite shooter, and he deserves credit for his development. Yeah. Spencer Dinwiddie was on the verge of being out of the league. Karis LeVert has drastically improved. Like, Kenny Atkinson can coach, and I think the timing helps him, Laura, because number one, as the jobs come open, he will be the primary target of anybody who needs development. What we don't know, because he wasn't given an opportunity, is how is he coaching superstars.
So who do we think might replace him as the Nets head coach?
I think you need somebody who can manage egos. Mm-hmm. And I think a guy like Ty Lue is an option. I think a guy like Jason Kidd is an option. I think you need somebody that both Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving can look at and say, this guy is in tune with this game. This guy has won championships before. He's been around caliber of players that he's been able to lead them, and I think that could be beneficial. But Sean Marks could think out of the box. I don't know.
Here's what I think. Nobody, when Sean Marks hired Kenny Atkinson, was expecting Kenny Atkinson to be the coach. I would make zero presumptions as it relates to Sean Marks and his coaching choice.
It really would be interesting if it was Ty Lue. You mentioned managing egos. Of course, he managed LeBron and Kyrie, and that worked out quite well. Much more to
Take you to Los Angeles, where yesterday Lakers, Clippers, and if there was one thing we learned with certainty, this was technically a Clippers home game. If these teams meet in the playoffs, it will be 7 Laker home games. Put that in the bank. Meanwhile, here's another thing. Kawhi versus LeBron. Give me that 7 times in a row.
And I love the fact that LeBron James took it upon himself to attack Kawhi, try to get him in foul trouble, try to use that upper body frame to really punish a smaller player.
Doris Burke, look at Kawhi getting right back.
Don't take a sneak peek, LeBron, because it's going to be dunked on your head. He's calling out coverages, the spin-off and finish by Kawhi.
And the Clippers had a 4-point halftime lead. This was a game that had playoff finals intensity. There's Kawhi. He goes up high. Clippers down by 1. Kawhi would finish with 27. Now, fourth quarter, Lakers up 4. LeBron didn't take a shot in the third. He changes that here.
And I love that they got the matchup they wanted. LeBron James having the confidence to knock down shots like that. If you have Montrezl Harrell, you have Lou Will, he will take advantage of that matchup.
Now, how about on Kawhi Leonard? Takes advantage there of the whole team, Doris.
This guy in pick and roll action was absolutely unstoppable in the fourth quarter. They went to it 8 times. They scored 6.
Lakers by 10 after he makes the free throw. Then LeBron goes to the bench, but they got good minutes, even if it was a brief spell while LeBron was sitting down.
Oh, they got great minutes. I mean, Anthony Davis only had 30 points in the ball game. He's a top 5 player in the NBA.
Yeah, look at this here on the nice dish from LeBron. Flushes it the reverse.